What it do, everybody? It's your boy, King Crowder, back again with another edition of History You May Not Know and Things That Are Not Taught in Details for Sure. Today's lesson, we're going to go to the great state of Florida. We're going to talk about war crimes against people, I would like to call them POWs, prisoner of war in this country. We're going to focus on Black Americans because that is an extreme part of history we do not focus on. This took place in Perry, Florida. Perry, Florida in 1922 in December. Remember, a part of the Great Summer, a part of the Roaring 20s. This is the other side of history we never learned. We're going to talk about 4 black men who were murdered, lynched, burned, and decapitated off a crime they were never truly convicted of. Let's dive into the story. A white school teacher who was championing teaching the school in the local area of Florida worked in the area. Her name was Anna Ruby Hendricks, and she was found with her sloped stash in a pool of blood around 4:50 p.m. in Perry, Florida, in Taylor County. Her face and body was dismembered and body parts were taken all over, and her identity was found later on. A day, 2 to 3 days later, on December 5th, the police had linked the murder weapons in the scene to a double-barrel shotgun and a razor to a black man who had been a resident of the area named Charles Wright. Remember, Charles Wright was just walking around. He was never in the area. It was never any hardcore evidence saying that he did it. He was just a black man in this side of town, so they said it had to be him. He was determined to be an escaped convict, quote unquote, from the adjacent Dixie County, where there were guns and bloodhounds everywhere. Each night that the body was found, they began to look for other people who were in Perry County near a black side of town, and they took dogs. They took more people in the area. After they could not find out people, they began to burn down the serving Perry black community. They burned down the schoolhouse, the lodging, the amusement hall, the churches, and other residents in the area. So let's put this in perspective. Perry County had a murder happen of a school teacher that was tragic. There was no evidence. There was no proof. You were in your town and in your community. Next thing you know, white man came there, burned it down, shot it, burned the churches, and nobody went to jail for it. The authorities knew, and they were terrified because the white mob violence was the acting rule of the day. When they did that, they decided to say, Mr. Dixon needs to formally tell who he was with. The authorities deputized local citizens, and the roads were cut off. And on December 6th, Corbin Dixon, a black man coming from Madison into Taylor County, was stopped. He was armed and had been deputized. Dixon was shot and killed when he did not comply to this gentleman he had no idea with. He did not identify himself as law enforcement. He did not identify who he was. All he had on him was a pocket knife. So let's get this straight. A gentleman who was coming back from work probably was shot and killed by a gentleman who had just been deputized that night, and he got a murder rap, and he was never convicted for it. Let's fast forward again to the next day. On December 7th, Albert Young, a black man, was arrested in a nearby county in Georgia. He was convicted of another crime that was equated to the crimes that happened in Florida. He was arrested, escaped conviction, and was acquitted as a friend of the gentleman who was accused of crime or the school teacher. He later confessed, quote unquote, to other individuals who have been in the crime with him. So let's get this straight. A mob of 3,000 to 5,000 white men transported these gentlemen from one county to another. They would told the sheriff, we need these guys getting a murder trial tonight. The mob violence burned them, castrated them, lynched them on the courthouse steps. Let that marinate for a second. There was no trial. There was no jury. There was no formal evidence. That was just a mob rule that happened, and they lynched and killed those brothers on sight. Think about this. There was no evidence to prove or show anything that happened. A mob went into a city, burned down a black town, said we're going to do this, forced them to comply, made them leave the city, and there was no proof or shred of evidence to go into it. The governor never spoke. The senators never spoke. The local politicians never spoke. All they could do was say the black town was no more. Families, you must move on. And that side of town almost became a sundown town. This happened so many times all over the South in this country, and we do not talk about the Great Retreats. The Great Retreats from Black Americans leaving towns they were from because they were forcibly removed due to these war crimes done against humanity. These crimes need to be taught, need to be educated on, and need to be discussed in schools so we can break down how to never allow these crimes to happen again. If you're from the great state of Florida and you live near Perry or you are on the north side of Florida, have you heard of this? Have you heard about these crimes and war crimes against humanity that happened in the month of December 1922? These crimes actively happen. Are there signs about it? Are people educated? Are they taught? Or are they discussed? The Black Town is officially gone and has never been replaced, and those gentlemen, until this day, have never gotten their proper just due of the conviction. It's your boy, King Crowder, back again with another historical lesson teaching you these stories of American history. I'm not here to teach one side or the other, y'all. I'm here to educate you on what happened in totality in this country. Our history is good, bad, and ugly, but it's so good to teach us on it because I believe everyone has a right to learn these beautiful lessons. It's your boy, back again. Make sure you let me know what you thought on this new network. And again, always, peace.